Welcome to the Filmographers podcast, the show where we study a director's entire career, one film at a time. I'm Keir Graff, and with me, as always, is Michael Moreci. We're currently 6 films into the work of the great Billy Wilder, and in our next episode, we'll be sharing the surprising things we learned about his 1950 classic, Sunset Boulevard. But today, we're taking a look back at the new movies that came out in 2025 and sharing our favorites.
In our second season, we've decided not to review quite as many new films so we can keep our focus firmly on Wilder. But that doesn't mean we haven't watched a lot of new movies, whether at preview screenings, at our local theaters, or on our couches, because Netflix is determined to be the Antichrist.
We spent a lot of time in the 1940s and also a lot of time in 2025. By my count, I watched 123 movies last year, 35 of them brand new, and I'm not double counting the dozen or so that I watched more than once. Mike, what about you?
Well, as a movie obsessive, I catalog every movie I watch. I've been maintaining an Excel spreadsheet where I log all my movies. I've been doing it for years. I can tell you how many movies I watched overall, but it would take some doing for me to figure out which of those were new, whether new to me or new this year in 2025.
That's still an impressive tally, Mike. So which one was your favorite?
Well, we're going to get there, but not so fast, Keir, because first we have our year in review. Before we go any further, I want to talk a little bit about our Patreon. We are making a big push this year to get more people to join our Patreon. It's really important to us, and here's why. Some of you may know this, some of you may not, but Keir and I are working writers, and the time we take to do this podcast is time that we're taking away from doing our career, our day job, and it is the choice we make. We love making this podcast, and we love that so many of you have responded so positively to it. But as they say, time is money, and also money is money, because in addition to taking the time away from our jobs, we're also paying our producer Kevin, we're paying for our theme music, we're paying for merch, we're paying for all sorts of things, just the general cost of making a podcast. And again, we're happy to do it, we love doing it, but we would be gratefully appreciative, and it would help us a ton if you joined our Patreon. And listen, we are not asking you, we're not asking anyone for simply a handout. Our Patreon, in my opinion, is pretty great. You get all of our episodes ad-free, all of our archives, and we record specific episodes that exist only on Patreon and nowhere else. We've done book clubs, we run polls. There are so many reasons to join our Patreon in addition to just supporting us that are worthwhile for you. So please visit us at patreon.com/the Filmographers podcast. Even if you can join just for free, having the visibility of more members helps increase Patreon, pushing us forward and getting us more seen and more known. And that is a great help for us. So just sign up, just join for free, or join at any level that you are comfortable joining. It's patreon.com/the Filmographers podcast. 2025, well, it was a year.
Remember, we're limiting this to film, not world events.
That does help, but it was a fascinating year for movies. In fact, I would argue that we might look back on 2025 years from now as the year that either was the beginning of the end or the beginning of cinema's next iteration. When you look at movies, there's a lot to be both gloomy and excited about. It's mostly gloom, but we'll get to that. But this isn't the movie industry's first brush with the apocalypse. You know, nearly 100 years ago, people believed that the advent of sound into film would kill movies. They really thought that cinema began and ended with the silent period. But people embraced sound. They embraced talkies, and the industry only flourished.
Then came television, and people thought that would kill movies as well. Why go to the cinema when you can have the same thing, more or less, beamed directly into your home? But then movies went big and created experiences that you could only get at a theater, and the industry managed to survive.
But there's a specific slice of movie history that I want to look at because I think it's salient to our current moment. And I wonder here what your thoughts are on this. In the mid to late 1960s, movies were starting to get fatigued. Studio musicals had kind of died off, and people were getting tired of massive roadshow pictures. These epic movies that were 3 hours long or more, and they were events to attend. These are the exact movies that helped cinema fight off the battle against TV just years earlier, but now they were growing a little bit tired. Audiences were getting fatigued by them as much as they're getting fatigued by superhero movies now. But then came 1967, a year Mark Harris captured wonderfully in his excellent book, Pictures at a Revolution. This was the year of Bonnie and Clyde, The Graduate, and In the Heat of the Night, and it changed movies. This is the year, 1967, that kickstarted the great American filmmaking era of the 1970s. So my question to you, Keir, if we're maybe seeing this again now with the movies like Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Train Dreams, and even Sinners. Hell, you could add Minecraft to that list. I mean, that movie was a zeitgeist. It was huge. Think about how much excitement surrounded these movies, how much talk, how much they made cultural impressions, and how ticket sales, this is really interesting, I find. I was surprised by this. They were driven by Gen Z. It's been shown, I've read in a few articles, that people born between roughly 1995 and 2010 went to the movies more than anyone else in 2025.
I like your hopefulness, Mike, and like Fox Mulder, I always want to believe. And as much as I appreciate your astute sense of film history, I wonder if 1967 and 2025 isn't exactly an apples to apples comparison. Like, as the studios were losing their grip on power in the 60s, people were excited by new ways of independently financing and making films. And I feel like there were more opportunities to make them, not fewer. Today, we're facing the threat of extreme consolidation, and that's a problem that won't be solved by good movies alone. I mean, two of the movies you listed, One Battle After Another and Sinners, were released by Warner Brothers. And with the Netflix merger, will there even be a Warner Brothers in 5 years' time? And if there is, will they have any interest in releasing movies theatrically at all?
And I wonder about that a lot too, because, when that shift happened in 67, 68, 69, et cetera, you still had a robust studio system that included many studios, not just like two, as we're looking at now. And there was still artistic, how do I say this? I don't say artistic merit, because movies still have artistic merit. We're going to list 10 of them that we found great this year alone, and it could have been a longer list. But they had people at the head of these studios who were interested in artistic merit. Now we have algorithms and spreadsheets and stock holdings and et cetera. And that tends to be the things that drive what studios do more than, hey, we want to make The Godfather because we think this is a special movie that needs to get made. A lot has been said about the tools that are being, available now. It's easier to make movies than ever. It's cheaper to make movies than ever. And I look at like a future where maybe the evolution is that like smaller movies, look, if studios aren't going to make them, then smaller movies might be better served by, being made themselves independently and going to theaters. And this is laborious, and this is not, I've been there, this is not easy, but going to one theater after another and making your own road show, basically. I always think, and I think I mentioned this on the show before, I always think of the Hundreds of Beavers model, which, God, I love that. I love that movie. It's so silly and so inventive. And I'm like, in an evangelical for this movie. I want people to see it because it's such a fun movie. But what they did was they went around and they just took it to theaters. They took it to festivals, they took it to theaters, and it just continuously is playing in theaters, and it's made a lot of money. It's made its money back and then some by a wide margin. It's been very profitable. Now, can every movie do that? No, but it seems like theaters are now more than ever open to the idea of saying like, hey, we'll partner with filmmakers. Studios are being such a pain in the ass all the time. And listeners, this is true. I know people work in the theater exhibition business. They'll go to exhibitors and they'll be like, you either play this turd that we've made, we'll force it upon you, or our next big movie, our good movie, we won't let you show it. So like you either play Tron for 2 weeks or we won't give you Zootopia 2. And you'll lose your shirt basically, and your holiday season will be ruined. So it's crazy. I mean, it's evil kind of, but like it makes though this opportunity where exhibitors are like, hey, we'll take a chance with you. We'll work with friendly filmmakers and we'll make events and we'll find ways to like circumvent this thumb that's being, we're pushed under constantly. And maybe that's part of what the future is. I hope, it's going to be hard to diffuse the power that these studios have, but like maybe there is that window there.
True to form, I'm going to bring an analogy to the world of publishing and books, because that's what I do. But I think, so when the big book chains started going under, Borders being a classic example, they bought all the most expensive real estate in all the big cities, and then it wasn't sustainable. And then they cratered after having killed a lot of independent bookstores. Barnes & Noble had overextended. There were other chains as well. And then there was this big vacuum. And what's happened gradually over the last 10, 15 years, and is really almost starting to accelerate, is independent bookstores started filling the void and creating their own kind of community where authors can tour around and authors can connect with readers on a smaller scale, but a more authentic scale. And I wonder if we're starting to see something similar happen with independent movie theaters. It's certainly, just yesterday, the day before we recorded this episode, Mike and I screened. We didn't screen. We got to introduce a screening of Double Indemnity at the Music Box Theater, and here's a grand old movie palace that's absolutely packed to the gills with people. And Music Box is a prime example of a theater that's playing to its strengths. It is not only thriving, it's expanding. They recently bought a theater in Minnesota, so long may the Music Box mini empire grow. I think there's something to what you're saying, is I guess what I'm getting around to. And I think that's a really positive and exciting thing, because as that screening of Double Indemnity proved, there's nothing as satisfying as watching a movie in a darkened room full of other movie fanatics and feeling and hearing the response. And every audience is different. Every showing is different. And that's the magic of the movies. People maybe think of a movie as a static thing that is always the same because there's a recording of it and you can stream it. Well, we know that's not true, right? Not only are there different versions of films that exist and different cuts, but a movie is different every time it plays to a different audience because the response is different. And so it's so important to see them live and to go to the theater and see them. So what you say gives me hope. And I think there is something to that. The thing that I worry about is, also that, you mentioned the Minecraft movie. Like that was one of my favorite movie going experiences of the last year. Not because the movie was so great. It was an okay movie, but because the theater was packed and full of tweens who were losing their minds. It was so much fun to be there with them. It was a really thrilling event. And we were just at a, freaking megaplex theater. The theater itself wasn't special. And so I feel like we need both, just as, publishing, we need independent publishers and independent bookstores. We also do need big publishers, and we need some chain bookstores. I know a lot of people hate to hear those words, but to have a healthy ecosystem, because in the past, sometimes the big projects, the big movies have underwritten the ability to invest in the independence, and the same thing with books. It's not always, the equation isn't always perfect, doesn't always work out, right? But I also want to have those big event movies opening on 2,000 screens as well. But if they're going to deny us that, then we're going to have to dig in and really double down on the independent filmmaking and film going experience. That's not going to die out.
No, and that's a wonderful point, Keir. And I think that like the message or the point is that it's important for everyone to be good citizens of film, and I think that like theaters are starting to become better citizens of film. I think even AMC, like you see like they're a huge chain, like you said, they are needed. They're absolutely needed. And they are now starting to show what you would call like specialty screens. They'll show old movies, and I've seen them show really small stuff. So they're, spreading their wings a little bit, which is absolutely necessary, while also showing, Sinners and re-releasing Sinners on IMAX, which is like, hell yeah, great, But I think that stuff's vital, because there is one, look, we're gonna end this on a positive note, so I'm not even gonna mention those two dangerous letters that are, have I and A in them somewhere. But like, there is one entity that I don't think has. I don't want to say will never be a good citizen of film, but at least in its current iteration, is very intent on not being a good citizen of film, and that's Netflix. Netflix is determined to kill the theatrical model, and there's so many that basically kills movies, and that is kind of it. Like I said, in their iteration, their dream is they just want to create their streaming service, have everybody funnel to one place, which is their service. They want to deliver a whole bunch of slop. I mean, yes, but they make Train Dreams, and people say, well, they made Train Dreams, and they made Knives Out. But for those 5 hours of excellence, they create 500 hours of absolute garbage. So the perspective needs to be held, and that perspective is that what Netflix is doing is not good for movies. But at the same time, in their own weird way, they are kind of revitalizing the theatrical model, because here, the things that you talked about like the music box expanding, for example, I think is a direct result of that, of people going away from that and wanting to find this experience again. So there's more robust and an expanding opportunity. Just here in Chicago this past year, we've seen number of movie houses being revitalized. The new 400 Theaters, which was once the oldest running movie house, again, right here in Chicago, that is being refurbished and reopened, which is amazing. I never thought I'd see that happen. And there's other theaters across the country, oh gosh, what's their name? Beck & Woods, the writer director, they wrote Quiet Place. They wrote and directed 65, the Adam Driver dinosaur movie, which I think is amazing. I think I'm the only one. I love it's such a dumb ass goofy dinosaur movie in space, but I think it's awesome. But yeah, I mean, like, these places are coming back, and like you said with Music Box, they're expanding. The movie chains, again, like the AMCs, are doing what they can. They're doing silly popcorn buckets, and they're screening those old movies, or they're really upgrading their audio and their visual. Like, they are engaging in the fight to keep the theatrical model alive, and I commend you for it. I salute you. Keep doing it. It's probably not easy, but goddamn, it has to happen. Otherwise, we're gonna have nothing but Netflix and AI slop, and we cannot let that future happen.
Mike, I love what you say about all of us being good film citizens. And in that spirit, I'm going to quote Pete Buttigieg, who said, in a very different context, hope is a consequence of action. So, to everyone doing their part to keep the tradition of movie-going alive, you give me hope. And we can manufacture our own hope by buying a movie ticket.
Or a Dune sandworm popcorn bucket,
Oh, keep that plastic out of the landfills. I'm not in favor of that.
What do you mean? A landfill? It's a collector's item. I'll have that forever.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone will keep that forever. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us for Season 2 of the Filmographers podcast, our deep dive on the legendary writer-director Billy Wilder. We're grateful so many of you have chosen to support us on Patreon, and we're showing our appreciation by releasing ad-free versions of our main episodes, plus monthly episodes that are only available to our paid supporters.
This month, we'll be looking at All About Eve, Joseph L. Mankiewicz's showbiz saga that, remarkably, came out just 10 weeks after Billy Wilder's Sunset Boulevard in 1950. We are, of course, recording an in-depth episode on Sunset, but these two movies deserve to be examined in context too. Not only are they both considered classics, but they were huge successes at the time and went head-to-head at the Academy Awards.
So let's get ready to rumble. We'll put both films in the ring, compare them point by point, and declare the winner in our book. If you want to follow along, watch both films and listen to this episode with your scorecard and a sharp pencil in hand.
This exclusive episode is available to paid Patreon supporters at any level. If you've been thinking about joining or upgrading your membership, now's the time. Just visit patreon.com/the Filmographers podcast to show your support.
Once again, that's patreon.com/the Filmographers podcast. If you join at the $2 level, we'll send you a sticker. If you join for $5, we'll send you a mug that, we promise, makes your coffee taste better. If you're not ready to pay quite yet, join our Patreon for free, just so you can see what we have to offer.
And now, on with our favorite films. Keir, which one tops your list?
Not so fast, Mike. I know this is only our second ever year in review, but I'd like to propose a new tradition. The airing of grievances.
Let's do it. We're just like the Seinfeld gang.
A Festivus for the rest of us, Mike.
What have you got?
I have so many. Bad movie theater popcorn, endless trailers before movies, too many 2.5-hour movies. Why is that the new running time? 2.5 hours. A release schedule that crowds most of the must-watch films. Like 50% of the must-watch films are released in the final 2 weeks of the year, it feels like. I also am very sick and tired of Nicole Kidman coming to the movies for magic. When will they stop playing that? I'm also very mad at people who don't watch movies in theaters, even though I realize that as I'm saying this, I'm kind of making the case for them to stay home.
Yeah, let's be careful here, Keir, because as we've stated already, we want people to go to theaters, not avoid them. Though I agree. AMC in particular needs to reduce their pre-show content. All they're doing is training audiences to show up 20 minutes late to shows, and I don't blame them. So that is a mouthful, Keir, but I think you've got some more.
I know I am an old man standing on my porch yelling at clouds, and this is not a new grievance for me or for anybody. And this is also part of the reason people arrive 20 to 25 minutes late for movies. But for my entire adult life, I have never understood studios cutting trailers that reveal almost all of the key plot twists of the films they are advertising. Does it actually work? In the last month alone, during the countless hours I was made to suffer through trailers, the trailers for Primate, The Housemaid, and Anaconda relentlessly hammered home every major beat of those movies. The trailers actually made me feel hostile toward the films. But let me single out one in particular, Flight Risk, whose endless trailer was basically a short version of the film that spoiled some of the biggest reveals. Now, I confess, I did actually watch that piece of garbage late one night on HBO, and it turned out there was one thing I didn't know about it. When the movie ended with, directed by Mel Gibson, my son Cosmo and I both burst out laughing, and Cosmo said, that was the biggest twist of the movie.
I think the biggest twist is that you actually watched that movie. I can't believe it. Good for you. But what you're describing, yeah, that's been a problem forever. I'll never forget. This is a long time ago, but I'll never forget the trailer for the Jennifer Lopez movie Enough, which was quite literally the movie. It was the entire movie and in sequence. Like, it wasn't even like, sometimes, like trailers will bounce things around, cut it up in some semblance of creativity. But this was like straight up, like, here's the movie in order, the 90-second version of it. And I was like, oh, okay, I saw it. Not that I was going to see Enough, but 90 seconds. Right. 90 seconds was enough, I guess.
We could say that you saw enough.
I saw enough. I certainly did. But yeah, movie studios, just trust audiences more. I think that's part of the evolution, of cinema that we're keep hitting on, that needs to occur, is like, just make the movies mysterious again. So when we go to the movie theater and we experience these movies in the dark, it enhances our experience, and it's our surprise and our enjoyment, rather than like being like, oh yeah, I knew this was going to happen. Anaconda, I knew this. I knew The Housemaid was going to go here. Let us be surprised. Let us have that experience that, like, I don't know, makes it all the better. And that's what we want when we go to the theater.
Well said, Mike. And I think that one of the trailers they cut for Housemaid even was one of those like they do with Paranormal Activity where, they show audiences, there's like night vision shots of the audiences like reacting to like the big plot twist, which is always like that's flop sweat. That is a sign of desperation.
Yeah, stop.
Don't show us that and then expect us to behave like that. Make us behave like that by making a great movie. Now, I don't want to consume all the oxygen in the Filmographers studio or my studio with my grievances. So surely you have a grievance or two to air.
I would say just one. If I have a grievance, it's with audiences. And you know what? I include myself in this. I'm going to put down my mug. I'm going to get comfortable for this one. I notice, and I'm ashamed of this, I'll admit, but I notice my attention span getting shorter and shorter all the time. And there is one culprit, and I know you know what it is, Keir. It's phones. It is goddamn phones. I find myself checking my phone during movies more and more when I'm home. I don't do it in the theater. I do control myself.
There is nothing worse than seeing that phone glow light up in a seat near you. Nothing worse.
So distracting. Get a hold of yourselves, people. But I am, like I said, I am ashamed of myself. And like I said, I'm not just pointing fingers. You point one out, you point four back. And I'm pointing the fingers at myself as well, because I will be home watching a movie and I will find myself and I don't even realize I'm doing it. And all of a sudden I'm just checking email or some other nonsense. I'll even do it. It's worse when I'm watching a movie on my computer, which I try to do as little as possible. But I'll minimize the tab and before you know it, I'm in other tabs. It's just stupid. What are we doing? Why we should be able to pay attention for 90 minutes to 120 minutes. So, I have a pack for 2026 and it's to be fully in the moment with cinema and hell, life in general. Movies are better when you engage with them and when they're not spoiled by trailers. So yes, studios, filmmakers, and theaters must all do their part, but so do we. We have to, like I said, be good citizens of film. We have to be literate. We have to fight against passivity. And that all comes from being engaged with the art that we consume, which means putting away your phones.
Amen. Friend of the show, Gillian Flynn, is so into respecting the filmmaker's vision that she told me she won't even pause movies she's watching at home. She won't even hit pause. And I find that inspiring and resolved to be more like Gillian. Now, Mike, at last, can we share our favorites?
I've got my envelopes ready, Keir. We're starting with number 10. You do the honors. What was your 10th favorite movie of 2025?
Okay, I'm almost ready, Mike. Before I go, I have to issue my standard disclaimer that longtime listeners to the show will know I hate lists. I hate ranking them. I'm terrible at it. I second guess myself. I'm paralyzed by recency bias. So, huge disclaimer. And also, pursuant to one of my grievances that I aired a moment ago, I feel like list making is so hard because they cram so many fascinating movies into the final few weeks of the year. I have been binging movies for the last several weeks. I have watched so many good films, but I haven't had any time to sit with them. I haven't had time to think about what's going to really, this always happens, right? The film that you walk out of the theater enthralled with sometimes just evaporates, and sometimes you find yourself thinking about it months and months later. And so, with the December releases, I just haven't had time. And so there's one particular December release in general that late year release that almost made my list, but I didn't put it on because I just thought I haven't had time to sit with this. So anyway, that said.
Yeah, this feels like I feel like Nelson Muntz is going to come in talking to Robert Goulet. Like, your agent says to shut up and sing. Dora said that? Okay. Give us your list.
Somebody's going to edit this out anyway, aren't they? Okay. Number 10 on my list is The Ballad of Wallis Island. It is a low-key, sweet, small film written by Tim Key and Tom Basden, directed by James Griffiths. It's a simple, old-fashioned tale of a lonely man who tries to reunite his favorite folk duo, and it hardly made a dent. Maybe the better way to phrase it would be it sank without a ripple, almost. This movie didn't last, didn't make any impression on the general film-going consciousness, and that's one reason why I'm putting it on my list. I loved it. It was just, it wasn't like a great film for the ages. It was a really great film for that night. It was the kind of film that people don't really make anymore, a small, well-acted, well-scripted film that felt, I don't know, it just felt sweet. And it could have become saccharine sweet, but I also think that they made the right moves to avoid have it be cloying. It was like kind of a feel-good movie that still felt realistic in the end. And for that reason, number 10.
Well, it's a great choice. We both loved it. We did an episode on it. I was so pleased to see it. It's, it's as they say, it's a story well told. It's very simple, but simple is not easy. It came close to my list. I will tell you that. Doesn't appear, but I do endorse people seeing the Ballad of Wallis Island, and then check out our episode, because we speak very positively, and Keir is very passionate about it. So it's worth checking out. My number 10 is a movie we also did an episode on. It is Eephus. We interviewed director Carson Lund. Eephus is this strange meditative movie that's ostensibly about baseball, but is and isn't. It's also about life. It's about the passing of things, of one transition of part of your life to the next. It resonated me with a lot as like these, it's basically about this beer league of baseball players that are, gathering together for one last game before their stadium is shut down. I think they're opening a school or something in its place. Well, you would like it to be something more nefarious, like they're opening like a chemical plant, but I think it's like a preschool or something like that. So you can't really be mad at it. So there's no villain there. I love a movie without a villain. There's no villain in Eephus. I guess the villain is time, and time is the enemy of us all. And it's just such a wonderful look. As I was saying, it resonated with me as an athlete who I know the day is coming, and this happens to some of the athletes in the movie, where they know that, they could find a new place to play and they could find a new league, but these guys aren't. They know this is the end of the road. And I know at one point, I will not. Keir and I both play soccer. We're both in the same league. And we know one day that we'll be playing soccer, and then one day we will not. And whatever the circumstances that drive us out, I'm guessing my Achilles is going to rupture any moment now. So I'm due. But that'll be the end of the road. It's wonderfully shot, beautifully shot. It's East Coast fall baseball weather. It feels like baseball. I absolutely adored it, and that's why number 10 on my list is Eephus.
Mike, that was beautifully and eloquently said. I couldn't agree more. Eephus is a magical movie, very, very close to making my top 10 list as well. I'm so glad it appears on yours. It's a delight. We need more films like that.
Yeah.
My number 9. Now it's time for something very different. And I think this is a film that I feel safe in saying is not going to appear on your list. Oh. And it's going to be Bugonia by Yorgos Lanthimos, starring Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons. Mm-mm. It is a film that I have a lot of complicated feelings about, and I only saw recently, and I almost didn't put it on my list because I didn't have time to let it marinate. Lanthimos is a guy who I'm very, very mixed on historically, and I'm even kind of mixed on this movie. But the things that I liked about it, I liked so much that I'm going to put it on there because of the experience of watching it. I feel like it's a movie that really engages with the present moment. We live in this fact-free zone where conspiracy theories are getting mainstreamed, and also where I think that there's this growing, for those who haven't seen it yet, it involves these conspiracy theorists who kidnap a CEO. They've got talk about grievances. They've got some grievances and some very real grievances. And they also have a belief that she is an alien. And it's just a big, crazy premise. And the execution gets crazier and crazier. And it takes a turn that I'm not even sure I love. But what I do love about this film is that it's trying to engage with now. It's trying to engage with the craziness of today, and how there are these giant corporations that are squashing the planet and squashing little people. I guess it feel like it asks this central question that is like, who are CEOs if not aliens, right? Because it's like they have this otherworldly power over us, and they affect this global. They have this ability to like change the planet in ways that are like incomprehensible. And the movie also just, takes some strange choices and has an absolutely bonkers ending that, again, like it took the movie in a different direction than I wanted it to go. And yet I respect the artistic bravery and boldness and, of Lanthimos. And also I kind of like both was shaking my head and laughing out loud at the big left turn that this movie takes at the end. So I feel like there's a place on my list sometimes for a movie that I don't think it's perfect, but it's a big swing that I really admired.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, look, I get it. Fair enough. It is not on my list. I'm not a Lanthimos fan, I'll be honest, and maybe I should give it a fair shake. But like you said, there's just so many movies to see that wasn't a priority for me. But I will give you my number 9, and I suspect will be at your list at some point, but don't tell me. But my number 9 is Steven Soderbergh's Black Bag. Now, there are 2 Soderbergh movies to choose from this year, Presence and Black Bag. I love them both. I love Presence for its swing and its creativity. But there's something about Black Bag, just this type of movie that we don't get very often, this sexy adult genre flick. Felt like a 70s movie, felt like an Agatha Christie novel. Fassbender and Blanchett are so good, and they're so much fun. The script is so playful. The whole cast is wonderful. Soderbergh's directing is slick and sleek, and he just absolutely nails this culture of no one can trust each other, of spies, but also marriage, suspicion and jealousy, and it just works so really, really well. I think this movie deserved better. It got released. Keir, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It was a February release, I believe.
I want to say March.
I think you're right. I think it is March. Either way, it was in this dead zone of like people aren't going. It's cold. There's nothing really at the cinemas at that time. So it just this is not a great release period. I think if it got released, maybe not summer, but maybe like a fall release, I think it would have served this film a lot better, because it did have great buzz and it is on a lot of top 10 lists. But unfortunately, it feels like a movie that I can't say it's been on a lot of top 10 lists and also forgotten. So not forgotten, but I think it's also a movie that didn't get a fair shake in its release. And I don't think it was ever set up to get a fair shake, unfortunately. But hopefully people discover it. It's streaming. I believe it's on Peacock. You can find it somewhere. It's a fantastic movie. We obviously have bias towards our man Soderbergh, but Black Bag is an entertaining, just great, well-made flick with a fantastic script from David Koepp too. So seek it out. My number 9, Black Bag.
Mike, I couldn't agree more. Black Bag is an excellent movie. My number 8 is Marty Supreme. Now, I feel like there's a theme here where I'm going to say I have some cavils, but I love it. And I do have some cavils with this one. It feels like uncut gems with ping pong paddles, and the actual playing of ping pong, a game I love, is woefully underdeveloped. And I usually don't even love Timothée Chalamet, but this is a relentlessly gripping movie. I love its portrayal of a monomaniacal, self-absorbed player who will stop at nothing to reach his goal. We can talk about the ending after we stop this recording, but I think that something, and this is only one of the Safdies, but like I think something the Safdies do well is this sense of just angst that they create in you, like this. They just grip you in the stomach, and they don't let you go for the runtime of the movie. I thought it created its era remarkably well with this kind of, I don't know, it was a vision of the 50s that we don't typically see on screen. It was a lot grittier and a lot, I don't know, it felt like a real version of New York. I mean, I haven't experienced New York in the 1950s, but it felt, it had a texture that was just remarkable. And it had, I mean, I haven't seen every Chalamet performance, but I've seen many, and I would say it's absolutely his best. I think he's growing as an actor. I want to give him a lot of credit for that. It probably seems like an Oscar swing since he's giving himself a monobrow and bad skin. But it's a brave choice. But anyway, I was enthralled. Even with a couple of gripes, I was enthralled.
Well, I'll tell you this. An interesting aside. I think it's Josh Safdie who did this, right? Benny Safdie did Smashing Machine. Josh did. Now I'm getting confused. I think I have it right.
I think it's Josh.
I believe it's Josh. I listened to an interview in the car yesterday with Josh Safdie. And to your point about the ping pong, he had this really fascinating insight into how impossible it is to shoot ping pong because of the frame rate and how fast the ping pong goes, and how he's like, you can only film one point at a time. He's like, that's as much as you can get before it gets visually confusing. And he talked about the challenges of filming ping pong, which I thought was really I like ping pong. I not as much as you, but I was listening to that and I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I can't imagine how challenging it is to have to film ping pong, like that much movement in that tight of space and that small of a sphere to capture. He's like, you can do one point at a time. He's like, which makes it also hard because like you want your actors to get into a rhythm, so they're playing the game, but you have to constantly start and stop. So it's really interesting. But yeah, those are great thoughts about the movie.
My gripe with the ping pong was partly just that as a sports movie, it felt like a great psychological movie, but as a sports movie, we need that moment of insight or in training where we see why he's able to defeat his opponent other than sheer will. And we never really see, because his opponent has this new technique of playing that he's never encountered. And Safdie just never really has him lock into that, and like he never plays against anybody who has that technique, or he never like unlocks it or deciphers it or something.
You need him to go to Russia to have a training montage in the snow, right? That's
Thank you. Thank you. Exactly right. Okay, Mike. Now what's your number 8?
My number 8, and I think this is maybe the most controversial. No. This is the second most controversial of the list. My number 8 is Sinners. Now, let me say this. I loved Sinners. I really, really do. I loved how beautiful it is. There's so much about it I love, and it could have easily been 7. It could have been 6. I'll start with my gripe of Sinners. I think the third act falls apart. I think it's 2/3 of a brilliant movie, and then it just became kind of a pat siege movie. Like, everything up to it was like, I've never seen this kind of thing before. It's so well crafted. It's going to such interesting places. And then the last act, it just becomes a siege movie. It becomes, they're betrayed from within by the mother who wants to, get home to her child. There's like a lot of cliches that they fall back on, that the movie falls back on, what Coogler falls back on. And I think he is a brilliant generational talent. And I think Sinners is great, but I think that held me back from truly, truly putting it higher on the list. Now, there's a lot to love. Like I said, this could be higher. There's a lot to love. Michael B. Jordan is excellent. It looks like a John Ford movie for a lot of the runtime, which is, an unusual thing to say for a, vampire period piece. But it is, there's not much I can really say about it that hasn't been said. It's just a fantastic, crowd-pleasing movie. I'm so delighted by the success it has, to be frank. I think the title race, the Academy Best Picture race, comes down to that, and one battle after another. And I'll tell you right now, despite it being number 8 on my list, I am pulling for Sinners all the way. So yeah, that's my number 8.
You might be tipping your hand as to the rest of your list. We'll see. We'll see.
I think I spoiled the other controversial. The other controversial thing is the one movie, an omission from my list.
Yes, interesting. Okay. Well, I'm not going to do any spoilers. I'm going to do number 7, and number 7 on my list is Frankenstein, Guillermo del Toro's remake of the classic. Or I don't know. It feels weird to call it a remake. I feel like he's made a new Frankenstein movie that combines elements that haven't previously existed in Frankenstein movies. Gothic horror isn't really my jam. I know it's your jam, Mike. It's something I can appreciate, but I don't salivate over. And I've had mixed feelings about, a lot of Del Toro's films. but I just think he knocked this one out of the park. It's the modern Frankenstein movie, and it's my favorite since Bride of Frankenstein. I thought it was, I got to see it in the theater. I thought it was richly rewarding theatrical experience. I thought, oh my gosh, what's the actor who plays him?
Jacob Elordi.
Jacob Elordi was a really, really great choice. I liked the, I like the origins of the monster. I don't know. So this was something that I maybe expected to enjoy but not love, and it turned out I loved it.
I'm glad you saw it in the theater. And again, going to our point, like I saw it twice in the theater, and both times it was packed. That thing would have done gangbusters on the big screen. But here we are. Thanks, Netflix.
Can we air some more grievances? I guess we already aired them.
I feel like we have one big one. Speaking of Netflix, God damn it. Speaking of Netflix, my number 7 movie is Knives Out, Wake Up Dead Man. Another Netflix movie that I did see in the theater. Did not see it on through Netflix. Saw it in my local theater, which we're playing it, thank God. We did an episode on it, which everyone can go check out for our more in-depth and fuller thoughts. But here's the thing. I loved the first Knives Out. I really disliked the second Knives Out. And I felt like number 3, Wake Up Dead Man, is the best. I feel like it's the first movie that really tackles something difficult. I'm still kind of amazed at Rian Johnson for making a detective movie. And I thought the mystery was great, and I'll get to that in a minute, but that's about faith and the challenges of faith and the endurance of faith and what faith actually looks like and what it means to be moral and kind and decent and what it means to not be those things. And to have that in a murder mystery is astonishing and such a great accomplishment that Johnson pulled off. And I really love the mystery. I know people have said, I believe you included, Keir, many people have said that it drags. It doesn't for me. I love the twists. I love the twist upon twists. I love the performances. I thought Glenn Close was absolutely fantastic. I thought Josh O'Connor should get a Best Actor nomination for this. He won't, but he should. Daniel Craig is, doing his thing. Like I think we've said before, like there's nothing Daniel Craig loves more than a goofy role and a goofier accent, and Benoit Blanc gives them both. But there is something deep and profound in this movie, and it's such a great story, and it looks fantastic. I really, really love Knives Out, Wake Up Dead Man, and that is why it is number 7 on my list.
Netflix, as you have said before, left so much money on the table by not just giving this a wide theatrical run, because it would have been a hit in theaters. And add Daniel Craig to the list of leading men, handsome leading men who really just wants to be a comedian. Jon Hamm, I would also add to that category. Jon Hamm, he's a goofball, and I love him for it.
Yeah, same. I wish he would take, stretch his dramatic chops a little bit more, the way we've seen him do, what Craig will still do. I hate to see. I remember I always think about Vince Vaughn. How he became such a goofball for so long and made some great comedies. And hey, everyone's free to do what they want. But I feel like we lost a lot of years of what could have been a great career in terms of dramatic acting that Vaughn didn't give us, that he could have. I thought the potential was there, and he went a different route. Which, hey, everyone's free to make their choice. But it always makes me cringe a little bit, where I'm like, oh man, we lost some performances while you were making Wedding Crashers,
My number 6, Black Bag. What could I say? Maybe I'm just a homer for Steven Soderbergh, but I don't think so. For all the reasons you already cited in your pick and more, this gave me what I want to see more of in theaters. A smart, short, extremely well-written and acted movie for adults that doesn't rely on gimmicks or explosions. And as you said, Cate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender are terrific together. All year long, I've been telling people, like, it's the perfect date movie. It is, and it's a date movie for adults, for grown-ups. There's some wonderful dynamic between this married couple and their secrets, but it's also fun as hell. And as you've said, as we've said, it is more Agatha Christie than James Bond, and so be it. It's so great. It's bookended by these amazing dinner parties with some big reveals and some hilarious interactions between the characters. It is funny as hell, and also just, I don't know, it's a delight. And pursuant to my complaint about 2.5-hour movies, it is a 90-minute movie, and we need more of those too.
Yes, if Casablanca can get it done in under 2, then so can you.
Nice. Yes. I think that's a new Filmographers t-shirt in the making.
Yeah. I like it. Yes, well said. We love Black Bag. And you know what else we love, Keir? We love it when people leave us ratings and reviews of our show. So if you have a moment, if you're on your device, if you're on your computer, you're on something because you're listening. So take a minute and leave us a rating and review. Apple is the best, I'll be frank. But if you're on Spotify, whatever you're using, please just leave us a little rating. You don't even have to leave the review. Just go across those stars. Obviously, we hope you give it 5, but please leave us a rating and review. It helps us grow our audience, help us, battle the algorithm, etc. So it's very meaningful for us. Takes you a second. You could have had it done by now. That's how quick. So I'll jump in now. Keir, what do you think? You have thoughts on that?
I just want to say something else we love, feedback. We've got a Gmail address, the filmographerspodcast@gmail.com. We don't get too many emails, and honestly, we'd love more. We would love more suggestions from you. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us if we need to go faster. I know we need to go faster. But just give us your honest feedback, because we want to hear it, because we make this show because we enjoy it and we make it for ourselves, but we also make it for you who are listening. And so we want to know what you want.
Yeah. Don't make us be like other critics, or other podcasters and manufacture hot takes. Don't make us do that. Then you'll be forced to send us rage mail. And maybe this is the one, because my number 6 movie, I don't think this is on anybody's list, but I don't care, because my number 6 movie is F1. I'm not kidding. I love this movie. Maybe it's Keir and I we saw it together. We saw it in Screen X. So maybe it was the experience, because I haven't seen it again. But maybe it was the experience of seeing it in this wraparound screen, and you felt like you're in the race car. But there is a genre of movie, sub genre that there's not many of them, but it's the old athlete. And this is something that probably speaks to me at my point in my life now. The aging guy who's like, you know what? I'm not done yet. And in a society of ageism, that is, I think, a really cool thing and a really powerful thing to see. That's why I love The Color of Money, is Paul Newman being like, you know what? I'm not training this fucking asshole anymore, because I'm not done. I'm going after it. I'm going to do it. I still got juice left. And that's part of Brad Pitt. Now, it's not the same narrative, but Brad Pitt saying I still got something left to give. I'm not finished. And I absolutely love that. I love Joseph Kosinski. I think he is a fantastic director. There's not enough credit due for people who can deliver big action anymore. I mean, most action that we see is green screen slop and incomprehensible movement of actors and fights and whatever the action we're seeing. I don't even know what I'm looking at. Kosinski is clean, sharp. His architecture of a scene is always very good. You know where everybody's at. You know what's happening. It's very easy to follow. He did it in Top Gun Maverick, which also did pretty well. And he does it here in F1. It's a great action movie, which again, I probably have some bias because it speaks to me of a person aging as well. Still feels like I've got stuff left in the tank, but you know what? It's my list. So number 6 is F1.
Well, it's interesting. It's your second aging jock movie on your top 10 list. It does say something. I just want to remind you, Mike, you're younger than me, so I'm feeling very, very Paul Newman at this moment. How do you feel about Tin Cup? Does that make your aging jock list?
Ooh, yeah, another great movie. Hey, man, I love Shelton. So yeah, I'm all in on Tin Cup. Yeah,
Although
Costner.
Bull Durham is also an aging jock film that probably ranks above Tin Cup, right?
Yeah. I just recently got the book that Shelton wrote. I'm looking at my bookshelf. It's called The Church of Baseball. It's on my list to read because I love aging jock movies.
Well, I loved F1 as well. It's not on my list. I enjoyed watching it. Yeah, that would have been the real synchronicity moment here. It's not on my list. I enjoyed watching it in the theater just as much as you did. I thought it was a terrific looking film. It hit all the right notes. It's such a satisfying night at the movies. I think the reason I put it in my kind of like Hall of Very Good for the year. I think that the writing was ultimately just it hit all the right notes, but like it didn't hit enough surprising notes for me. And it kind of reminded me of a lot of racing films that I had already seen and enjoyed. But not to take a note through, I mean, you're absolutely right about his ability to shoot an action film. It looks phenomenal. It's so good. It was so thrilling. I think I drove home at 90 miles an hour because after seeing that, because I was so pumped up. So definitely a good movie.
You're screaming at people. It's okay. I just saw F1 like, flying by them.
Okay, my number 5 is the perhaps antithesis of F1. It is Sorry Baby, which is, I think, a stunning writing and directing debut by Eva Victor, or Eva Victor. I'm not sure how they pronounce their name. This film is a deep exploration of trauma, which is a topic I'm not normally attracted to in film, I'll be honest. But it is done with such freshness, such honesty, such confidence, and unexpected humor that it just completely won me over. I was, I felt like I was seeing a really fresh new voice in film, and it was a gripping character drama, which is something I love. As I say, I want to see more of those in theaters and not just on the small screen. And yeah, it was really exciting to see a film by somebody I didn't know what I was in for, didn't know this was coming. And it also, just a very minor note, but it has one of the best title payoffs of a film I've seen in recent memory. Usually when the title shows up in a movie, it's a little bit of a clunky note. I thought they did it deftly. So Sorry Baby is number 5.
That's one of the movies that I really wanted to see, but unfortunately didn't get a chance to see it. I'm confident probably would have been in my top 10. There's a few more. I'm sure, at the end, we should take a moment to list like these movies could have been a contender. But yeah, we just didn't see them.
Instead of a bum, which is what I am.
Yeah, I wish I would have seen that, but I didn't. But it looks fantastic. I've heard nothing but good things. So I'm delighted that it's on your list, Keir. My number 5 is another Netflix movie. How do they keep doing this to me? Dang it, I like Inception. My number 5 is a movie we discussed briefly in an episode, a Nouvelle Vague, the Richard Linklater French New Wave. It's about the making of Breathless, but it's so much more than that. Any movie can be, there's so many movies about making movies. There's so many insider baseball movies. This isn't about the industry. This isn't really about the practicalities of making film. It's about the art of making film. And you're following along with Godard, and you're seeing this artistic madman. And there's a certain amount of him that is a self-aware that he's playing a character of the artistic madman, and that he needs to do this in order to create something new and different, which he does. Breathless is one of the greatest movies of all time. So it's this fascinating portrait of one of the, this movement of in time, this French New Wave of just pure art and pure love of cinema. This movie just glows and hums with the love of movies. Everybody in it is so great, and you have people playing Chabrol, and you have Truffaut showing up, and it's just so wonderful. And it's like you're watching this, and you're seeing these like people that, for me, personally means so much to me. And I love Truffaut especially. And it's just delightful, and it makes you feel energized about art and making art and the importance of art and how being an artist is a valuable, worthwhile thing. And that's what Godard does. He assumes the role of the artist. He's not just like, that's the important thing of like him being aware that he's playing a role, is because like, it's not just me. I'm not just born to make movies or some sort of like intangible thing like that. It's like, I'm going to be the artist, and that is meaningful. And by being the artist, I am going to make art. And that is a worthwhile thing. And Linklater, who's one of my favorite directors of all time, has done this for so long. It makes me so frustrated here that people do not recognize that in this year where he's released 2 magnificent movies, that he's hardly getting spoken about, and how important Linklater is, how important he's been since he released Slacker in 91. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was before, so many of the other, the American independent movement. He was a little bit ahead of it, and he has endured and strived and made so many amazing, important movies, from the Before trilogy to all the way to bigger scale, like School of Rock, which now has a goddamn franchise across the country of teaching young kids to play music and make art. His impact, I don't think, is appreciated enough. I don't think he's been appreciated enough this year. Nouvelle Vague is fantastic, and I hope more and more people seek it out. It's easy to watch because it's on Netflix, but despite that, please watch it, because it's about art, and it's about the value of art. And art is more meaningful, I think, in our world and our lives than ever.
And there's a touching title card on Nouvelle Vague that says "meant to be watched on the big screen," or words to that effect, which makes it all the more painful when you're watching on Netflix. But what a wonderful endorsement of that film, Mike. I think it is a delightful movie. It's near the top of my next 10, I would say. It didn't make my top 10. I think I don't have the strong connection with the French New Wave that you do. I certainly recognize the importance of Breathless, and I was delighted by that movie. It was so... Yeah, I don't know. We so often get wrapped up in the practicalities of making things and the finances and the business. And certainly even as working writers, it's just, after you do it for a couple of decades, it's just easy to worry about deals and contracts and just getting it done. And it was so fun to watch these, young filmmakers who are just, they're having, and he's driving his producer crazy while he's making this movie by like filming for 2 hours and then taking the day off and then saying, well, to make art, we have to have time to think. And we can only do it when we're inspired, and yada, yada, yada. And yeah, he's kind of playing a role and he's kind of needling him, but it's also sort of true. It's like, as a writer who basically works, well, more than that, but typically, 5 days a week during normal office hours, the idea that you could work and be guided by your muse and your inspiration and the love of creating something new is so rich and so rewarding. So I'm not surprised to find that on your top 10, and I'm maybe a little surprised to find quite so high, but I love your endorsement of it.
Nouvelle Vague, yeah. And I'm glad you saw it. I hadn't known that you saw it, but it's, hey, the Hall of Very Good is still a good place to be. So I'm glad it's circling for you. But yeah, I mean, it's just fun. I mean, look, they're just film dorks. Like all those guys you watching, you're like, what a bunch of nerds, but you love them. Yeah. Like you love all of them.
And in the end, you have to say, like, this was actually a pretty good year for movies. Despite all the things going on, there were some pretty good movies to choose from.
Yeah, there actually were. No, I like that. Yeah, you get so caught up in the list and the rankings, and you're like, wow, there's a lot to choose from and a lot of good stuff here. And we're getting to the good part, because what are we? We're in now top 4 territory.
This is, yes. Okay, so my top 4 is a movie that I am as surprised as anybody to see this high in my list, but it is Wake Up Dead Man. So
I'm fist pumping for people who can't see.
One of the reasons I'm surprised that this ended up this high is how much I hated Glass Onion. I hated that movie. I really hated it. You hated it. I hated it. We both hated it. We both love Knives Out. But also too, it's like, let's say it's now a franchise, so it's the third movie in a franchise. Movies like that don't typically end up, near the top of my list because it's a franchise, and like I'm driven by originality and excitement and stuff, and yet here we are. It's a terrifically engaging mystery that does something different with the idea of an all-knowing sleuth, as you said so wonderfully. It tackles some big questions. It tackles the nature of faith. It gets some political digs in, but not in that ham-handed Hollywood way that so often happens. So it has a demagogue that is, could be coded for the demagogue leading our country, but isn't necessarily. It's kind of like it's about all demagogues. He's not doing a bit, and it's really, really funny. And you were quite right that when we reviewed it, I did say it was too long, and I did say it drags, and that was after I had seen it on Netflix in my living room, and something but I did like it enough that I wanted my family to see it, and so I looked for the nearest screening, and the nearest screening for me that worked was in Indiana, Mike. Indiana. Netflix made me drive my family to Indiana to watch this movie, but we did it. We powered through on I-80, not a pleasant road, and we went to see this movie. We drove an hour to see this movie, and it was worth it. Everybody in the family loved it, and I will say that watching it theatrically, I did not feel it was too long. It's a very different experience watching things in the theater. Yes, this was one of those 2.5 hour movies I was railing about. It's closer to 240, but the pacing felt right on the big screen. I almost quoted Nicole Kidman. Everything feels all right in the theater there. But yeah, I thought it really held up on a second viewing, and in fact improved because the mystery kind of revealed itself in a better way. It was a little easier to follow. But the performances, the humor, everything made it worth rewatching. I'm glad I did. So yes, number 4 for me, Wake Up Dead Man.
Well, Keir, I'll say this: you are a good citizen of film, Keir. So bravo. Rian Johnson owes you both thanks and an apology. Yeah, well done. I didn't know you had snuck out to see it a second time with the family. I think I saw it with the family as well, and they were not as enamored with me. I think the kids got a little antsy because, it's long for them. And there was no, there were no Navi in the movie. So another
Fair
movie
enough.
I didn't
see. To be fair, my kids are in college. They're, so it's a different demographic.
So my number 4 is a movie you've already listed, Keir. It is Frankenstein. This was originally higher on my list, and I think I've seen movies that have outpaced it, one thing, but it also kind of slipped just on its own, I think, because as much as I love it, the more I stepped away from it, I think the more I started to see a little bit of problems with it. I think the first act is, as people have said, this is not just me, a little slow. The Oscar Isaac, Victor Frankenstein stuff does go on for a hair too long. Now, I think it pays off wonderfully. I think the back half of the movie is absolutely riveting and fantastic. But I think the Victor stuff pre the monster, I don't want to say it's a slog. The slog is a heavy word to use, but it's really finding its footing, and it's taking too long to do it, just a little bit. But the movie in and of its, other than that, it looks great. I mean, this is Guillermo del Toro's jam. I am a huge Del Toro fan. Crimson Peak is one of my favorite movies of all time. There's a lot of Crimson Peak in this movie. For those who know, there is a lot of shots that are like identical to Crimson Peak. The funeral procession, the inside of Victor's castle, laboratory, whatever you want to call it, are apples to apples, just same thing. And I think Del Toro is not doing it on an accident. But it's such a wonderful movie that again, Del Toro's been doing for a long time, of like the man in the monster and the monster in the man. And no one does it better. He does it beautifully. He does it because he cares. He does it because this story is meaningful to him. The story of fathers and sons. These are all reoccurring motifs. and he does them just to, I don't want to say perfection in Frankenstein, because maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but he does that as well, I think, as anybody can do. And in the Gothic, backdrop, which is catnip for me, it looks great. It's I think like the quintessential adaptation of Frankenstein. I don't know how you can top it, because it stitches together the book, previous, the whale movies, and makes this, for lack of a better term, Frankenstein of a film that captures, I think, what Frankenstein is in the best cinematic way that I think that we can hope for. And maybe I'll be proven wrong one day, but right now I think this is the absolute tops. Frankenstein is my number 4 movie of the year.
Fantastic. And now we move into top 3.
Yeah, it's getting real now.
My number 3 is a movie that's already appeared on your list, Sinners. I know it's topped some people's lists. It was at the top of my list for most of the year, to be honest. Maybe the theatrical experience of 2025, barring the Minecraft movie. This is a movie I saw twice in theaters. Got to see it on IMAX. Look, this ambitious take on the vampire film or zombie film, can argue it both ways. Was just like one of the most fun experiences I had in the theater. I agree with you. I think that the last act doesn't live up to the promise of the first 2/3 of the film. I think I do agree with that, but I think I give it so much goodwill from the rest of the film that I'm going to forgive that. I think, as you say, Coogler is a generational talent. The scene, the roadhouse scene on the dance floor. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. The oneer, that is an all-time shot as well. That is just, that's a legendary shot that is thrilling, to be honest. It was, Michael B. Jordan, just such a fun, amazing, scenery-chewing performance. He did it twice. Not everybody can pull that off. I really don't know what to say about Sinners that hasn't been said already, except that, I was start to finish in the theater. I was in heaven. I was enjoying the hell out of that movie.
Yeah, it's probably one of my best theatrical moments of the year, that and F1, just because the Screen X was so cool. And I've meant to do it again, but I haven't. But yeah, in terms of theatrical experiences, Keir, I'm with you. That was a really special experience. And again, I loved it. It's in the top 10, but there was just some quibbles I had with it.
Totally fair. All right. What's your number 3?
My number 3, like you, a movie that has appeared on your list, Keir. My number 3 is Marty Supreme. What's interesting, Keir, I've never seen a Safdie brother movie before. I've never seen Daddy Longlegs, Uncut Gems, Good Time. I'm going to correct that. I saw some of Smashing Machine. Like you, I was in a rush to watch all these movies, and I saw half of it. I was like, well, it's not going to be in the top 10, so I got to move on.
Yeah.
It was not bad. It just, I knew it wasn't a contender. But anyway, number 3, Marty Supreme. It's such a energetic, tense, smart, and emotional movie. And I love the core of it. I love that it's about this pathological dreamer who, yes, causes absolute havoc everywhere he goes in pursuit of a dream for us, it doesn't hold a lot of meaning, because we're looking at ping pong is silly. This is never going to be a worthwhile, quantifiably worthwhile goal. You're never going to be rich. The price you're paying, you're never going to get back. But that's the point, is that dreams are dreams. Yeah. And that you should be able to pursue them, whatever they are, to the ends of the earth, and do what needs to be done. And it doesn't matter the outcome. It doesn't matter if you succeed. I mean, it does to some degree, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but it doesn't matter what you get out of it, because it's all about the journey. And Safdie has talked about this. Part of the reason that Marty Supreme came together, I was listening to this interview where he said, after he made Uncut Gems, which is, Marty Supreme was in the background. He was kind of working on that, as all filmmakers and writers do. You have multiple projects that you're juggling. And it's whichever one gets the funding or gets the star attached or whatever, that's the one we're going. And he said he was pursuing and more or less making Uncut Gems for like a decade, and finally got Sandler, finally got off the ground, and then he made it, and he felt this great emptiness in him.
Wow.
That like, I did it and now it's over. And he had to look back and be like, what was valuable to me wasn't making the movie. What was valuable was all the things that I'd went through in order to make the movie. It's the journey. And everyone says that. It's the journey, not the destination. But there's something so powerful in Marty's story that it's about, I guess, something that I relate to deeply. That's about somebody who comes from nothing but wants to make something of themselves. And the thing that you want is not a want, even. It's a need, and it's a desire that you have to do. And that's, I'm not going to say what the ending is. I'm not going to spoil it, but I think that's why the ending works so well, because it's about slaying the demon more than it is about anything else. And then you can move on. Then you can go and do the next thing because you've done it and you've realized the dream, and that's the important thing. But other than that, the filmmaking is superb. Like you said, Keir, New York feels so vibrant, and Safdie talks about this, the cinematographer he used and the way he did it, and I think it's wonderful. It feels sweaty, it feels grimy, the subway feels like the subway. As someone who lived in New York, Chalamet is excellent. I love the how tense the movie is, how nonstop it is. I wish, the one quibble I have is the cinema verite that he uses. Like, you're so wobbling and moving and you're so tight on Marty all the time. And I know that's intentional because you want to be with him. But I also felt like I felt a little too claustrophobic, where I wanted to pull out and see the ping pong hall a little bit more. I wanted to see the world a little bit more and not be so tight on Marty all the time. So that was the one filmmaking quibble that I had. But otherwise, he shoots it magnificently. The script is wonderful. The performances are wonderful. I love the story. It is a fantastic movie that's good, and that's making me now go watch all the Safdie movies. I think it's terrific.
Yeah, you got to see Uncut Gems. That's a movie I love quite a bit. Yeah,
I've always meant to. It just has escaped me. And producer Kevin told me yesterday, a matter of fact, while we're at the Music Box, that he said, I have to see Good Time as well. So I'm going to go down the rabbit hole for sure.
Excellent. Okay, number 2. My number 2 is Blue Moon, Richard Linklater's ode to a long night in the life of a very short man, composer Lorenz Hart, who's reckoning with the end of his partnership with Richard Rodgers. I know this is a movie that we both love, just adore. My family loved this as well. It is in some ways you could say it's a small film. It's a film that takes place basically in one location. And it's almost like a play. It's nonstop patter. Ethan Hawke is fantastic in this role, fantastic as Lorenz Hart, and it's amazing how he's a very short man in real life, so they use practical effects to make Hawke appear shorter. He is. It's a remarkable portrayal of somebody who's at a turning point. His successful partner is leaving him behind. Is going to has made what Hart thinks is has made the musical Oklahoma, which Hart thinks is just this cheesy piece of crap. He cannot resist putting dig after dig in about how bad he thinks Oklahoma is, and yet he's still a very needy person. He feels like he's it's a film. It's about an artistic breakup, but it's also about like watching this ship recede on the horizon and you're not on it. He's struggles with so many, obviously, he's such a complex figure. He's struggling with his sexuality, with his drinking, with his inability to stop talking. He is just this bundle of nerves and neuroses, and yet we care about him and we like him, even though we see all these challenges. And there are times you just kind of want him to stop talking and shut up, and yet he can't. Interestingly, it's a very similar movie in its own weird little way to Marty Supreme, because it's about somebody who's driven by his compulsions. He's in the thrall of his compulsions, and really, is probably not capable of change. I just thought it was marvelous. I felt like I had just entered this world, this little restaurant where, people have gathered for the after show party for Oklahoma, and people are coming in and going out, and there are all these little side conversations, and real life figures are showing up, like E.B. White in a great little bit. It felt like a wonderful little slice of New York, but it also just felt like a just a rich character study. And I feel like that's something I'm always saying, but that's what I love. I love in film, is to watch somebody go deep on a character, such as so much dialogue and such great dialogue. This was very nearly my number one, but it was close as hell, but it ends up at number two. But it could have, if we allowed ties in the filmographers, it might have been a tie.
There are no ties, unfortunately. I would be with you. I'm fascinated by what your number one is. And by the way, listeners, viewers, we don't know each other's lists, so this is all coming as a surprise to us. I won't say much about Blue Moon, but I will say you bring up a really great point here, that I wonder if there's just something in the water that, like, as the film industry has had a rough couple of years between COVID and then strikes and now AI and consolidation. We're taking one hit after another. And I wonder if there's something in the water of, like, I still have to keep doing this. I still must keep doing this. I must keep writing music. I must keep, pursuing this dream of being a ping pong champion. Nouvelle vague, like just this love letter to art. I wonder if there's something in filmmakers who are just like, I have to, the world is screaming for me that they don't care and they don't want to, and the industry is kind of kicking me out. But I still have to do this, for reasons that are just my own, if no one else's. So yeah, I wonder if there's something to that's happening, now, and maybe will continue to happen. But it's fascinating.
That's a fascinating take. There are a handful of movies that kind of fit that bill.
Yeah. Even like F1 a little bit. Like, I'm not done. I'm still doing it. It's kind of cool. But so my number two is Train Dreams, a movie that caught me by surprise. It's been praised a lot, but it's such a little movie in terms of, like, how much it's been marketed and how much it's been advertised. It snuck up on me. It's a very just beautiful, meditative, Terrence Malick-ish movie based on a Dennis Johnson novella that's just about life. And I don't even want to say a character study, because you don't really get too close to Joel Edgerton's character like you would do in Ethan Hawke and Blue Moon. But I do think that it's a study of existence and what it's like to be alive in the sliver of time in which you're alive. And it's going to start in one way, and you don't know why you were born, and you don't know how come now, and you don't really understand the circumstances in which you come into this world at this point and this time in this place. But here you are, and the world is going to change around you, and you're going to change, and things are going to happen, and some of them are good and some of them are bad. And then you're going to leave at some point, and you don't get to decide when or how or where or who's with you. And you hope that in the interim period, that you hope it meant something, and you hope that you leave some sort of legacy in this world that is, one of the lines of the movie is how old the world is, how old, and we take it for granted, just how wonderfully ancient a tree is, and how much it's experienced, and how much it's going to experience after we're long gone. Hopefully, if it's not, deforested or whatever. But it's just a quiet, beautifully made meditative film that, like I said, snuck up on me. And I really love Train Dreams. It was close to number one. I thought Joel Edgerton was magnificent. Not quite to number one, but a damn solid number two. I really loved Train Dreams.
And my number one is Train Dreams. I thought this movie was just a beautiful, haunting, lyrical meditation on, as you say, on life, on not just life, but a life. And it's such a hard thing to do. Richard Linklater in Boyhood, maybe we could say, is somebody who's tackled that with a remarkable project of a film. But Train Dreams was so, I think the reason I gave it the edge over Blue Moon was because it just felt bigger to me. It touched me at my core. there were a couple of tiny things about it that as a Westerner, there are always films set in the West. I'm from Montana. This is set in Idaho, just one state over. It kind of reminded me of like The Revenant. There are always a couple of like little Western details that don't hit me quite right. That's okay. It was true in all the senses that mattered. That sense of awe and bewilderment and love and loss and loneliness and fleeting moments of grace. And it's funny, I'm actually choking up while I'm talking about it because at the end of the movie, I watched it at home. Thanks, Netflix. Did not catch it at the Music Box. Watched it with my wife and I watched it together. We were alone in the house. And at the end of the movie, we were both in tears, and not maudlin, weepy tears. Just, it was it felt, I don't think it's a spoiler to say it ends with a death. And it felt like we were participating in that death somehow. It was such an incredible, moving film moment that we really sat with that for a while. We were quiet for a while. We were just kind of knocked out. It is a movie I can't wait to rewatch, and I hope someday I have the opportunity to see in a theater. I think it's a remarkable artistic achievement, and I wish anybody but Netflix had made it, but they did, and I'm glad we have it.
Yeah, I am with you. I was very emotional at the end as well. I hope Criterion does put out a lot of Netflix movies, and this feels like a perfect movie for them. And I'll tell you what, Keir, after seeing Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning this summer, I didn't think I'd see a movie with a better biplane scene, but here we are. Train Dreams topped it. In a much different way.
Very different. Joel Edgerton is not hanging off the wing.
No, he is not. But I love that. I love that moment. What a movie. As Al Pacino would say, what a picture. Absolutely loved it. My number one, we flip-flopped. My number one is Blue Moon, Richard Linklater's, maybe his masterpiece. I think it's such a strong, heartfelt, sincere character study, and the tagline is perfect. As we all know the saying, gone but not forgotten. The tagline, forgotten but not gone. And I think that's something, a biggest fear I think that we all have in life is that for things to move on without us. Like you said, you're watching from the shore as the ship takes off. And that's what Lorenz Hart experienced. He was still talented. He was one of the great, I think we take for granted, and I didn't know this, but like he was one of the greatest songwriters of his generation. And then one day the song changed, and it went from like his funny and sincere and challenging and complex love song, sad, very sad. You look up his music, a lot of it is very sad and rich and heavy, to Oklahoma. To Rodgers and Hammerstein and like Sound of Music and all that kind of stuff, which look, I'll be honest, I don't really enjoy it. I prefer Hart far more than I do that stuff. But like, to be this man who, like you said, it's not just about the art, but about his life and the complexities of his sexuality, his drinking, his garrulousness, to be wrestling with all these things while at the same time, the thing you're moored to, your art, is just being ripped away from you. He's watching in real time. This is kind of a joke, but I remember I saw this interview with, I think it was the drummer from Def Leppard, and he says the first time he saw Nirvana play, and he said, "Well, our careers are over." And and I think that's a fear as an artist, as a human being, that like, you have kids and your kids are going to move on, and maybe your friends are going to move on, and maybe the art around you is going to change. And this bedrock of your life can be just kind of tore out from beneath you. And it's something that Lorenz Hart encounters and obviously never recovers from. But the portrait that Linklater paints of him is not just about that. It's not just about this lonely guy. He is wonderful to spend 90 minutes with. He is funny and he is witty, and he has the script is razor sharp, like with such great dialogue, and like you would love to be at a bar listening to this guy talk, because he's so entertainment, he's so smart, and he's just so charismatic. And like I said, the scenes with E.B. White and his takes on, war and life and post-war, they're just, I mean, just the movie is packed. I need to see it again, but it's packed with brilliant truth and funny little one-liners. It's just a remarkable script, remarkably well done. Ethan Hawke absolutely needs to win an Oscar for this performance. He is,
Amen.
like Robert Redford, he says, I don't always consider him a great performer, but he is great. This is a performance of a lifetime. He needs to win the Oscar. He absolutely deserves it. There is nobody better. Chalamet was great. People say DiCaprio is great. I guess Hawke is the tops. He needs to win it. That is why one of the reasons why number one for me is Blue Moon. And I'm very proud of that one. So it's a great list we have here, Keir. But I think we're going to talk a little bit about some other things, our predictions for the year, movies we didn't see. But I think we should talk briefly. There is a big omission, and I'm not surprised because we've talked about this a little from both of our lists. One Battle After Another does not appear for either one of us. Are you surprised, Keir?
Yes, we both left One Battle After Another off our lists. I wasn't entirely surprised that it wasn't on your list because we've discussed it somewhat. We've shared our general feeling of being underwhelmed by One Battle After Another. It's not that I think it was a bad movie. I thought it was a good movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but I also think it was just overhyped. I don't really understand the excitement over it. People I know and trust said, "Oh, I saw it, and I just, we were blown away. It's so great. You have to see it." And then I saw it, and I did see it in the theaters. I didn't get it. I guess I feel like I'm a fan of Paul Thomas Anderson. I'm always going to see his new movie, but I also feel like his last two, this and Licorice Pizza, have been kind of underwhelming for me. I think One Battle had. I think DiCaprio was really good in this, but I don't think it was, Oscar worthy. I don't think it was that great. It was, to me, if anything, it was more like a Coen Brothers conceit to have this activist who the whole movie you never see him be an you never see him do anything heroic. Really, he's funny, he's entertaining, but just I don't know. The bigger messages about activism that we have to keep doing it just didn't land for me. I thought some of the Pynchon humor, the nuns and everything just felt kind of hackneyed and old fashioned. Kind of felt like humor from the 60s and 70s or something. It just didn't. I don't know. It didn't cohere for me in a way that made me feel like it earned my attention for that long of the film. I enjoyed it. It just didn't. It wasn't enough. And Benicio del Toro, I enjoy him in everything, but he was a presence his character didn't get enough to do.
I'm with you. It's funny. We had a number one and number two were identical, and I'm identical with you in this. There's a lot of talk about how good the performances is. I think other than DiCaprio, I didn't feel like any performance was that good. I'll be honest with you. I'm sorry. They were fine. Not great. I thought Sean Penn was acting in an entirely different movie.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't even know what movie he was in. And he's so unbelievable. He's like a cartoon character.
The heart of the film felt like it was about this old revolutionary.
Yeah.
Which was like worthy to me of again, kind of a Coen Brothers escapades, but it didn't feel like a ringing call to action. It didn't feel like, I just didn't feel touched by that movie. And ultimately, if I don't respond emotionally to a movie, it's not going to go on my top 10 list.
No, I didn't either. Like I appreciate the politics. I appreciate the message, but there's a lot, it was the same thing with Licorice Pizza. Like it just didn't hit me. It didn't hit me at all. And this movie I walked out saying, okay, it was fine, but it didn't hit me with the politics, even though it probably should have. Didn't hit me with the character. I just kind of left feeling kind of flat and puzzled by some of the choices. Like for instance, Sean Penn's performance, like the nuns, the car chase that I heard was so good. I was like, that was fine. I've seen better. So yeah, I mean, look, I still love Paul Thomas Anderson. I'm there for whatever he does, but this one just left me a little bit cold, I guess you can say. But moving on here, do you have a list? I have a list of movies that like I wish I had seen and may have made my top 10 of the year, but like you already addressed, time, money, there's not enough, not money. I'll throw money at movies all day long. Time,
I know you
uh,
will.
yeah, there's time really that you can just not go and see everything, can't get to the theater, can't just carve out the time. Are there movies that you wish you had seen that might have made your list that didn't?
Yeah, absolutely. And, if we were a podcast that was all about new movies, we would have seen these movies. But we're a
Yeah.
podcast that's about revisiting the work of directors, in this case, a director who's dead. So we're watching movies by Billy Wilder. We have to spend a lot of time watching old movies. So that really cuts into our new movie watching time. So that's, if there's an excuse, that's what it is. I so badly wanted to see The Secret Agent. And I even had a plan to go see it when I was visiting my in-laws in the Twin Cities. And there was a blizzard. There was a blizzard the day we were going to see it. And the roads were bad. We weren't going to drive into the city to go see it. And then because it was in so few theaters on so few screens, the scheduling just didn't work out. No Other Choice is a movie that I very much wanted to see, did not see it. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Didn't quite squeeze that in, even though it was streaming. Sentimental Value, Hamnet, Nuremberg. Is This Thing On? That's probably the extent of my list. I mean, I'll see Sung Blue at some point, but I don't think that was going to be a contender for my list. Yeah. What about you, Mike?
Just Sung Blue. That's it. Just kidding. Just kidding. But yeah, no, we spend so much time watching old movies. And if I can give a PSA really quick, there are a line of physical media Blu-rays, the Warner Brothers archive, that like they've released a ton of old, excellent movies. You can find them on Amazon. You can find the Warner Brothers website. I've been reading this and I have a sinking suspicion myself that like now with the Warner Brothers Netflix merger, that those are going to basically just go away. I think they're going to stop printing them. They're physical media. They're a relic to somebody like Netflix. So my PSA is if you want to get these movies before they're gone, there's a ton of excellent selections. Speaking, as old movies and as old movies lovers as Keir and I are, you might want to find those movies. You might want to gobble them up now because I think once they're gone, they're gone. I don't think they're going to be reprinted. I think those are done, which is tragic. But my list of movies I didn't see, just rapid fire. Sorry, Baby. If I had legs, I'd kick you. The Legend of Ochi. Sentimental Value. The Secret Agent. Is This Thing On? And another indie movie to join the list, Avatar: Fire and Ash. Which I love.
That
those
would have
movies.
been number one for you, Mike. It would have been number one.
It would have been top 5. I have no doubt. I love those movies. I have no shame. I love them. But I just couldn't do it, man. 3 hours. It's 3.5. Like every time I went to go to try to see it, the holidays are busy, just in general, kids, family, etc. But it's like, okay, 4:00 movie, I'll be home at 8. Like I just can't. Like, that's crazy.
I did see that in the theater. My son Cosmo and I went. Cosmo, also the designer of the Filmographers logo and merch. And we enjoyed it very much. We are both totally all in on the Avatar movies. Haters can hate. That's just fine. Sure, there's problems with the Avatar movies. The dialogue is not great. The scripts can be, I think Cameron's scripts have gotten worse over the years. I don't care. I want to stare at those blue people in that magical world and just it's a different kind of movie. It's a different, I view those movies in a different way. I am just absolutely dazzled by the magnificent technological artistry of those films, and the other concerns are secondary to me. I mean, we sank into those seats and had a great time watching that movie.
Yeah, that's all I want. I'll never watch it at home. And I know that's not true. I've watched them at home, but the enjoyment is greatly diminished. But that's all I want. Is I want to go. Like we said, we love the cinema, and the cinema can be different things. I wish I was seeing Blue Moon. I tried. It just the window in which it played was so brief, so I just didn't get a chance to. But there's many different things that tickle my love for seeing movies at the movie theater, from Blue Moon to Avatar. And I will see Avatar, but that's a pure cinematic experience. And I'm glad that Cameron gives it to us. I am perfectly happy. Like I said, Kaczynski and F1, I am perfectly happy for that kind of experience as well.
Amen. Yeah, I will go see those, IMAX 3D, and that's it. I'm not going to watch them at home, but if you have a big enough screen, they're probably okay at home. But that 3D is unbelievable.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's nothing like it. There's just nothing like that big screen in 3D, and yeah, you need to do it.
Well, we've gone long today, Mike. This has been a very special episode of the Filmographers podcast. Listeners, viewers, we thank you for your patience. We thank you for sticking with us, going on this journey. If you're watching the Billy Wilder movies with us, thank you for that. We've got more coming up very, very soon, so stay tuned for that. But we do like to weigh in on some of the current movies in the theater, and so I'm really glad, Mike, that we got a chance to talk about our favorites of 2025 today. Do you have any predictions for 2026 before we sign off?
I do have a prediction for 2026, Keir, and it's this. I think Avengers Doomsday is going to be a flop. I think it'll still make money. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's going to not make money. But I think that something that we learned in 2025 is the fatigue is real. And I'm not trying to say that these movies are bad. I'm not saying I hate superhero movies. I don't love them, but whatever. There's a space for everything, and I'm not going to tell people what to see and don't see and what has value to them. But I will say that, like, this movie, I think already, like, the trailers were released last week or a week or two ago, and people are kind of laughing at them. I think between that and like the desperation of bringing back Captain America, and I also think weirdly, like, how poorly Stranger Things, the finale, has been received, and like people are like the Marvelification of Stranger Things. I think people are tired of it. I think people are just tired of it, and the bar for Doomsday has to be so high. Listen, that franchise has done so well, the MCU franchise, of driving people away. The Russos are directing it, and the Russos are such terrible fucking people that like hate the cinema, but are like, come see our movie. So like anybody who was like a cinephile or cinephile adjacent who like really loves the cinema and maybe we're like, yeah, I'll go see a Marvel movie just because it's a movie and I'll go see it, whatever. And there was plenty of us. We packed it for Endgame and for Black Panther. But now we know the Russos for who they are. There's no way in hell that I'm going to see that movie. So like you drove away those people. The MCU has gotten so complicated that like the casual moviegoer can't go. Like, it's so like the multiverse, the TV shows, it is everything that led up to Doomsday and to Endgame was like clear. It was like, oh, we got to get these stones. The Grimace is the bad guy. We got it. Like it's very clear and understandable. Now, like Dr. Doom's in it. I don't even know why. Like, I don't get it. I don't really understand Captain America's back. So like the casual moviegoers, those guys are gone too. So you lost them. You lost the cinephiles. That brings you down to like the $500 million range. This is what Marvel movies basically make now. And that's not going to be enough for Doomsday. That thing is probably going to cost $500 million. Like, so like they're going to need to make billion or billions. And I do not think there is any chance that they cross that threshold. And I think that might be the nail in the coffin for the MCU.
And Marvel's hegemony.
Yeah. But how about you? Any predictions for 2026?
I have a very humble, modest prediction. Looking at my crystal ball, I predict that Steven Soderbergh will release an excellent film that we will enjoy very much.
And we'll be here for it. We will cover it. The Christophers is what's coming out, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Cannot wait.
I cannot wait either. I can't wait. And we'll be here. We'll cover it. And viewers, thank you, like Keir said, for sticking with us. It was a long one. We had a lot of movies to cover, a lot of ground to cover for the year that was 2025, a fascinating year. And we hope it all goes great in 2026 for cinema and for all of you listening. So hope you have a great year. If you have thoughts on our lists, if you just want to share your favorite movies and why they are your favorite movies, email us, thefilmographerspodcast@gmail.com. We're happy to read your email. We want to see it. We want to hear from you. Hit us up. Let us know whatever is on your mind.
Thank you, as always, to our fantastic producer, Kevin Lau, who makes our podcast look and sound so good and sometimes drives up to Chicago to join us for a screening. Our theme music was composed and played by Gompson, and our logo and merch is designed by Cosmo Graff.
Join us in 2 weeks for Wilder's 7th film, Sunset Boulevard. And remember, movies are big. It's the screens that got small.